Hey, welcome to Dollar Views, everybody. If you know, if you've been looking at us on the internet, we've totally revamped our social media at Dollar
It's
Views on
booming.
Twitter. It is booming. We're following just about anyone that follows us. So make your numbers look good, make our numbers look good.
Trade off,
Doing
we
some
got to
fun
help each
retweet.
other.
Exactly. So we were planning to do our top 10 of the year tonight. Steve wants a little bit more time. That's
I'm
okay,
still not
because
quite ready. I'm
yeah,
told now I
neither
need
am
to see
I.
one more movie
Yeah, to
too.
be
So,
honest, I you definitely do. We're gonna get to that in just a minute here after you start off the show. I'm Brian Gillis
and
here
I'm
with
Stephen
Steve.
Multinex.
Yes, he is. We're gonna start off with Michael Bay's latest movie, 13 Hours. Tell us about it.
Yep, this is the Benghazi movie that has had a lot of people worried. I really wanted to try talking about this without saying the name Michael Bay, but
You have to.
now I have to because you just started it that way.
I mean, does
Honestly, though,
anyone not know this is a Michael Bay movie? Like, it
everyone
is 13 hours, and what's the subtitle? What is it?
I don't think the people that were in the theater necessarily cared. Like, this is the same exact crowd that went to Lone Survivor opening night and American Sniper opening night. And funny enough, I did go to midnights for both of those. I
Lone
don't, it's,
Survivor Midnight? That sounds really grim.
or 10 o'clock screenings, whatever you want to call them. They're earlier showings now. But yeah, if you take Michael Bay's name off of this movie, you wouldn't really be able to tell, honestly. And I think that's to the movie's credit. Like, at least yeah, that's probably the least, or sadly, I think it might be the most interesting thing to talk about, actually, because the movie itself is fine. There isn't that much remarkable about it. It's about as remarkable as Black Hawk Down is. That's the movie that it's being compared to the
Yeah.
most, and that's apt. But I think Black Hawk Down is good, but doesn't leave an impression on me, or even Zero Dark 30 for that matter. They're movies that just are about the subject and it's about showing everything on the surface, but then at the end of the day, that's just kind of all you get. It doesn't make a burning impression, but
I'm gonna
aesthetically,
stop you real quick. You know that Dollar Views from our first season has a Zero Dark
I
30
know you
review,
have
right?
one, and I don't know what
Yeah,
you thought of it, but I thought it was fine. It's just not.
I liked it.
It's a movie that I don't think was necessary, and oddly enough, at the end of that movie, makes it seem like even they know that it wasn't exactly necessary. It's
I don't.
fine. It doesn't leave a burning impression. I thought Hurt Locker said a lot more.
Way
That's
different
yeah,
though. I
yeah.
mean, and we talked about this in that episode 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. It just, it's a 2 hour long who done it, or how did I phrase it in the episode? I was like, done it how? Or guy, I know the guy who knows the guy who knows the guy that
I
might have
have
done it.
no idea. I mean, it's honestly, it wasn't that interesting to me, and it just doesn't. It didn't resonate with me. Although I guess the
Jessica
best thing I can say
Chastain
about it.
was, uh-huh.
Yeah, there are a couple of tracks from the score actually that I really liked. That's the best thing I can say about it. When they're flying into the compound and they're about to take down Bin Laden, that's the best thing I got though. Like it's not bad. It's just I guess when you're touching historical topics like that, especially when they're recent, they're not necessarily all that substantial. Like this is something that you can read about in a history book in like half a page, and
13
it's just
hours.
not that interesting. And both, even for 13 hours.
Hmm.
Although I think 13 hours, it's a good movie. I guess like I said, the best thing to talk about, I guess, or the most interesting, is because it's a Michael Bay movie. It's not his typical hyper real. All the girls are smoking hot. Everyone's got exotic cars and looks fucking beautiful. Even though, you know what, there are exotic cars here, and that it's kind of questionable because that could be some cheap form of Michael Bay product placement. But then at the same time, the way that they explain it is pretty funny. That they basically just took Gaddafi's cars after he was killed. So
I don't
and,
think
and
I've
that
ever
they were
asked you
bulletproof.
this.
So that's kind of justified, actually.
I don't think I've ever asked you this. What's your favorite Michael Bay movie? Is it Armageddon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then I have asked you this. Yeah, we were having a beer back in college.
that's
I
my
was losing my shit.
that is one of my favorite movies. But then after that, there's The Rock, there's Bad Boys 2,
The
there's
Rock is so good.
there's the first Transformers, and then
Imagine if they made a remake of The Rock starring The Rock.
please don't,
Yes.
no, because
And you got Nick Cage. I mean, not
no,
Nick Cage. John Cusack. Well, they're
no,
actually both in it to reprise the
don't
roles.
don't do it, don't do it, no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, look,
Yeah.
but you know what? 13 Hours, it is a solid movie, regardless of Michael Bay. I think it's more comparable to stuff like American Sniper and Lone Survivor because it's going to get criticized for the same stuff of being overly jingoistic. And I honestly, I mean, I don't get the sense with any of those movies. I mean, like, especially with American Sniper, it was definitely heavily criticized for that. And I think with that movie, though, it's more of a character study. And there's a big difference between when a character in a movie is jingoistic and when your movie is being overly patriotic itself. Here it's just
Hmm.
these guys are these guys. It's not like it's 100% neutral and grounded, this movie, but it is pretty. It stays out of politics pretty well. You could probably find some subtle things in there, as many people have, and they've called it out as going, "No, this movie has a political agenda." But I honestly, I don't feel like this was shoving anything down my throat. There was probably I think the biggest Michael Bay moment, and it's only because I know that's a Michael Bay film that I criticized, is that there is a shot of an
Spinning
American
helicopter blade in slow mo.
no, there's an American flag in slow mo that's has like it's really ridiculous too, just because
Like war torn with some
it's
blood
the
on it and some
hostiles on
bullet
the ground, and
holes.
there's like three gunmen, and they're shooting up at the American flag that's flapping, and there's bullet holes going through
Yeah.
it. It's like,
See, I
oh,
haven't seen that. Predicted it.
you got your cliche, oh no, America is hurt imagery, and which I don't think is bad, but it's just the fact that there's three gunmen standing there going, "Fuck this flag." Where I'm just like,
Shoot the flag.
that just looks a bit too silly. But I mean, you know what? It honestly, it really does a good job of keeping you invested in this situation and in these characters, because this is a situation where we still don't know what really happened. And at the end, even these guys, they're ex-military contractors, and even then, they're just sitting there reflecting on it, and they're not even sure of what happened. All they fucking know is that they have these guys going after them. They have these guys that just that killed the ambassador. Spoilers for real life, if you didn't know that, because evidently some people got pissed off when I said that 4 people died in Benghazi. But yeah, it is a confusing fucking situation, because they are running down the streets and there's gunfire, and they don't know whether they have friendly 17 Fed guys that they're coming across or whether they're hostile. So it really makes for good drama and good action, because there is so much confusion there, and you're just they're never really sure of who the target is, and that's pretty fucking scary.
I read your review. It's like an hour, or I mean, 150 minutes, and
It's two and a half hours long.
It
and
flew by, right?
I didn't
Yeah.
know the runtime, honestly. I was shocked. Like, right when it was done, I was like, oh, that's probably 2 hours. Then I looked at my watch, and
Oh,
I had
shit.
been in the theater for an hour or 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's including trailers.
Yeah,
I was
trailers, yeah.
really, really surprised by how quick that went, especially for a Michael Bay film, which is often criticized as being overlong and dragging. No, this kept going, and honestly, like the breaks between action too, where you spend time with these guys, like that was the best stuff in the movie. I don't think it's a great movie by any means, but I do think it makes for good entertainment. It doesn't really say anything enlightening on Benghazi. It just presents the situation as is, or at least a perspective of it, because who's to say what really happened if there's so many conflicting statements, even though this movie does make it very clear, even from the marketing, this is a true story. But I don't know, there's no way of knowing. But I do think there's not a note that feels overly false or overly Hollywood. This doesn't feel overly sensationalized the same way that Pearl Harbor did. I mean, there's not like any in Pearl Harbor there was a moment where they had the bomb getting dropped onto the Arizona, and it was a really cool shot. And there's a bunch of shots like that looked viscerally really cool in Pearl Harbor. This probably has only one moment that could be argued as being overly Hollywood, but then again, and it had that fucking Phantom camera, which I fucking hate. But if I'm looking at it from a story perspective, it's one shot that's focusing on a lead character, so I think they're trying to go for something more emotional there to hook the audience in, but I don't think it quite worked, because I fucking hate that camera. Or at least the way that it was used. But the movie is actually good. It's not like I guess
It's serviceable.
it's a solid movie, but and it's really really well made, and it shows that because people keep asking for it. Oh, Michael Bay, can you please not be immature for like 5 seconds? Well, here you go. I mean, yeah, there are moments where these guys say some shit, but it's just some friendly camaraderie back and forth. It's not like the movie's tone or anything is doing anything that's overly immature or anything. There's nothing really offensive about this movie. It's really well made. So if he needed to make this for personal reasons, I don't think he was trying to prove anything. It's just it does prove that as he's getting older, we're getting a more mature Bay, but I still like the Michael
I mean,
Bay
we,
that caters to 13-year-old boys. You know, I like that hyper reality. It's fun
I mean, we
to.
are getting Transformers 5 sometime in the near future,
Yeah,
so
well,
you
I
get your
hope he's
wish.
more passionate about that than he was about Transformers 4,
Well, let's
honestly.
switch over from hyper real to 100% real. I saw Victoria last night, and
Just one thing
it's,
about that segue, 13 hours is not hyper real, man. Come on.
well, anyway,
Weird segue. Come on. Just got to call it out.
one of the best movies I've ever seen. One of the best movies flat out I've ever seen. And if you don't know anything about this movie, I know I introduced you to it months ago when I told you I had to see it.
Hmm.
It's like Silent House or what Birdman attempted to do. It is done in a single take, in the same way that Unfriended this year did it. But this is actually a single take. There's one camera moving on with all the action, and it's not, like I said, it's not Birdman. It's not being hidden with camera movements on stairs or CGI fadeaways or anything like that.
Like it's one actual take.
Yes, this is 100% real, and that's the tagline of the movie. It's like one night, one girl, one take, or something like that. And it didn't get released here, so that's why no one's seen it. It's on Amazon Instant, right? Not Prime, but Instant rather. I'd buy that for $1 in a heartbeat. I need to buy this movie.
Well, yeah, I got to ask you
With
one question, I
mhm,
guess, just because I'm very, very curious. If it's one full take,
it is
how is the audio?
great.
Really?
It takes place in Germany. It's about, I don't do this on the show, but I think I have to here. And it's about a Spanish girl that is working in a coffee shop, and so she's out at a bar, and she meets this group of guys, and then she hangs out with them for the rest of the night, and that's the movie. And then some shit happens. At the core, it's a love story. It kind of reminds me of Before Sunrise. It's like boy meets girl and what they do for the whole night together. Except because this is a single take, because you're literally following these people in real time over the, I think it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes plus credits. There's a real, not surreal because it feels realistic, but some of the content not really. But it's alarming how different of a movie it makes. I think something like this film in VR is where that medium is going because it definitely could have been done if they just had a VR camera. I mean, in
Just not a
terms of,
first person point of view shot?
yeah, because I mean, it kind of has a similar vibe to the VR stuff from Strange Days, okay? Except it's not POV. But because the camera is always there along with these people, because I mean, you got 5 people on camera at you, not on camera, but those are the principals. It's 5 people. The fact that they're always there, you could kind of argue that the camera is a sixth person that doesn't say anything. But yeah, you have to see this. It's going to be in my top 10. And I think the only reason that's not going to be on anyone else's is that they didn't see it for some reason, even though we got a ton of hype. But yeah, it does have this gimmick, but even with it, it's a must watch. Just not just for technical reasons. Like I said, I think it's one of the best love stories of the year.
I'm going to try my hardest to get to it within the next 24 hours.
Do or do not, there is no try.
I'm busy, man. Yet life is life. You know, the fact that we're able to set time aside and do this show, for me, that's a fucking big accomplishment right there.
Congratulations.
Well, hey, you know, it's a labor of love, man. Come on.
Yeah.
You
Let's
know
move
it.
this to something that you've already seen. I also saw Sicario this week.
Ah,
So I saw Prisoners, what was that, a year and a half ago now,
two
almost 2 years
years, yeah.
ago. I liked it, really dark. We've talked about the ending before off air. Not the best movie, but I like the mood it set up, and all of the actors are great. Kind of similar thing
Pretty
here.
much, yeah.
Looks good. It has a fucking amazing score. It thumps your heart. It's really intense. It's gripping. You're interested in what's happening. But the caveat is that there's zero character development. You don't care at all about these people on screen, or you kind of
I
do.
wouldn't say I wouldn't say like all of them, yeah, but you know, it's
Yeah, like
mainly
Emily
about one
Blunt.
person.
Yeah, you care about Emily Blunt
Hmm.
to an extent, except like I said, she doesn't have character development, and I don't care how much natural lighting or how much they shoot at night. They do it like couldn't counterbalance it for me because I heard so much good things about this movie. I kind of regret not catching it in theaters, and now I'm just like, well,
I disagree. I think you can read a lot more into it, not just what her character does, but I mean just thematically how she's being used. And I mean, you know, there is that it's that whole allegory of just you know, you can look into it. How would I put this? Of, you know, you're basically just it's just a movie where guys are just using the woman just to get what it is that they want,
Yeah.
and they're not really using her for her talents or anything. It's just she's just there so that she can be used. Very explicitly too in one moment in the middle too. Am I making sense here? It's not. I
No,
haven't
yeah, I
thought about
totally
the
get your
movie in a
metaphor.
long, long
Yeah, yeah.
time, so
I
I'm
mean, I saw
not.
this
Yeah,
recently, so I didn't piece together a metaphor like that.
yeah, and I mean
But even
and
still,
that's
with
the
that
whole thing that you
message,
take away from that. It's in her is her trying to move up in the world, and it's just a very cynical film, and it's a world that is just not letting her advance in any way whatsoever, really.
I didn't see it that way.
Or well,
She, you
not
know,
just not
she,
necessarily
whatchamacallit,
advance, but there's other stuff going on too.
she volunteered for the position that she puts herself into. It was all on her because, yeah, she did want, to further her career in the FBI. But there's very little that I cared about in this movie because in Prisoners, and I haven't seen Enemy, but I cared about these families, or like Hugh Jackman in particular, and what he was going through and the turmoil of the event, and fucking Paul Dano. You can't not care about his portrayal in that movie. He's so powerful.
Yeah,
But like here, even though Benicio's great and Josh Brolin's great and Emily Blunt, like she's really good. John Bernthal in that bar scene was kick ass. He's when I was watching this, like he's the new Punisher. That's really cool. But yeah, I wasn't invested. I was invested in the movie. Like I said, it was intense and I was gripped. And like if I was in the theater, I probably would have needed popcorn. But I didn't understand what kind of message they were going for. Like there's that whole aside they had with the Mexican family and the kid that always wants to play soccer, and they kind of have a
yeah,
message
that
by the
barely.
end of it, but like you could have cut that 20 minutes out.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why I'm still skeptical on Blade Runner, but I do think it really is a movie about a woman trying to make it in a man's world and just kind of getting shut down. That's my main takeaway from it,
Yeah.
and
I mean that's a
especially
totally viable point of view, but that's exactly what Zero Dark 30 is, and that just has a story that I care about.
but it wasn't necessarily her trying. It was just her. She was more conquering that. I don't think Zero Dark 30 is nearly as cynical about it.
No, but they don't care about her until she has men backing her. I don't know. It's a different movie. It's a different angle. It's a different worldview.
Like
But
I
like,
think yeah,
there's
the way
parts
Sicario
to
does
this
it
movie.
is that it's not providing a solution. It's just saying, "Hey, this is
This is
what
something that
it
happens.
is."
Yeah.
Like that's
In
just yeah.
certain ways, it kind of reminded me of Fast Five, or not Fast Five. I mean, Fast and Furious when they do the tunnel race at the
Um,
end. I
just because they're
definitely.
going through the border.
Yeah, well, not
Oh,
just the
the ending,
border,
yeah.
but the fact that they're using a tunnel and the way it ends and with the angle they go for. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like it wasn't a bad movie and it looks amazing. Like it's like a very gorgeous movie, especially at end, but just not a must see. Like you could definitely avoid it, but I don't
I
know.
got a feeling that this is the one that Roger Deakins is going to win the Oscar for, and I just wish it wasn't. I really would love it actually if Lubeski got it for the third time because I think The Revenant's the one where he really earned it. But I think Deakins is going to get a sympathy vote. This isn't a bad looking movie, and it really fits just atmospherically. Yeah, it looks beautiful, and I mean there is some incredible stuff, but it just doesn't viscerally grab me the same way that everyone else does, I
looks
guess.
great, but not good enough to win
Like
anything, in my opinion.
it looks, it's really well composed and it's decent and it fits the movie. I just wasn't really in awe of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess unless you got a boner for natural lighting.
No, I love the score though. I mean, I thought it was
Oh yeah, it's just heart
yeah,
pumping.
just those tones, but like
Real minimal
really
too.
great atmosphere, especially in that opening.
Oh yeah, that opening scene is amazing. I watched it twice.
Damn.
Yeah. Moving on to something also kind of similar in terms of worldview. Wild Tales. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
It came out last year. It's from Argentina. It was on the short list for best foreign film at the last year's Oscars. Weird movie. Like I heard so many things. It's on a lot of people's best of the year list. It gets like really good praise on the internet. It's an anthology film, and not in the way that we're accustomed to them, where they have like a string that time all the stories together, like in New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day or Crash, or I mean, you could even say something like Pulp Fiction. Like they all connect. Either someone crosses the lines and they show up in one story, or you learn more about them as the film progresses. This is
Is
not
it
that
more
at
like
all.
Cloud Atlas or something, or
No, because see, Cloud Atlas, there's still a
you can still
connection.
make connections? Yeah.
Yeah, like they're the same characters through the time periods. There's the theme. There's like certain things that bring it together. There is nothing here. It is literally just a collection of short films that all have a similar kind of tone or a different similar theme. And there's nothing really wrong about any of them individually. Like it starts off with this real hilarious one on a plane. It ends with this really great one in at a wedding. It's really funny. It's really dark. It's about like the people out there that are assholes, or like people that are trying to combat evil, but then they're kind of evil too, or not evil in like the general sense of the word, just like not typically good. It kind of deals with gray matters, and like, it's not all just black and white. It's like everyone's kind of like this, and it's definitely funny. Like the reason I checked it out is because a lot of people are kind of comparing it to the tone of Tarantino, uh, earlier day Tarantino, and I definitely agree with that. It has, especially something like Inglourious Basterds, like it has the same kind of comedy going on, but the fact that it's just a collection of shorts, it's not great. I think if you watched any of these individually on YouTube, you would really love it. But when you have to sit through 2 hours of it and there's no really reason to have done the whole thing in the first place, it makes it kind of
Yeah,
pointless.
that's the
But not
problem
bad,
with
just
anthology films is like they all have
yeah.
to be like at least just as good as each other. There could be some that's like, one that stands out, but they all have to be as good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
these are almost like they are equally good. There's a couple that are a little bit better, but they're all strong. It's just, I wrote this on Letterboxd that what separates a good anthology film from a great film is how the stories interconnect, and there's no marrow here. Even like look at something
Is
like
it like the Twilight Zone?
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's something like that, but like have you seen Tales from the Dark Side, the movie? That
No.
has a connection. Like I believe it's Christian Slater actually as a kid, and he's like, yeah, like this old lady brings him to the house and tries to cook him in the oven, and so she makes him read from like the Tales from the Dark Side, and so he's reading these stories. And but whatever, that's kind of off the point. I don't know. Ricardo Darin is in it, who the star from The Secret in Their Eyes. So that was cool. I didn't know anyone else. Like, don't avoid it or anything. Just don't rush out to watch it. I don't regret the time I watched. I watched it right before we recorded, but I would have rather watched Sleeping with Other People, which I'm going to watch in the next day or two.
Yeah. I hope you like it.
Yeah, me
That
too.
really is up your alley. It's not. Well, we'll talk about that later. I
Yeah.
feel like it's better
It,
than some people have said though.
like I said, this film it ends with a really good wedding short. It's hard to say short, like a wedding section, and that was 100% my alley. Like just great, super cynical, like realistic wedding. Like it's like this is supposed to be the best day of your life, and this is the kind of shit that could happen. Moving on to other shit that can happen. I saw The Big Short.
Yes.
Totally agree with your review. I was listening to it the other day. Just great, great movie that does as good of a job as possible of explaining the clusterfuck of the 2008 recession. Because I still didn't 100% understand or follow everything that happened. Or I followed it, but even with the sides, like the Bourdain one or the one with Harley Quinn, I like even still, I'm not an expert, but I definitely learned a lot more, and I think everyone that sees this film is going to, and that's why I think it might win Best Picture.
And also, I mean, another thing that I just love about it is, Adam McKay just getting that angle from a directorial talent that you do not expect to,
Yeah,
tread into this territory. It's
even
not
though
like,
this is a real funny movie, it's not. Yeah, it's not Step Brothers. It's not Talladega
yeah,
Nights.
no, and I mean, it's just if you didn't have someone with that kind of sensibility, then it would probably feel like everything else. Much like how
Uh huh.
like Spotlight is, which I imagine you're going to get to that in a bit. Just
Yeah.
going over the basics. But no, the way that this is told is very refreshing. I mean,
Hmm.
it's the thing where just
It
beyond,
got nominated for Best Editing for a reason.
yeah, I mean, just beyond this subject matter, beyond this subject matter, like just aesthetically, this film, as a film being put together to tell a story, is so well done and makes it really rewatchable for me. In my opinion, so I mean, there's different reasons for me to want to watch this movie more than once, and I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, really informative. You're gonna learn something from this. Like I said, it's probably gonna win Best Picture. It's very deserving. I would buy it for $1. I think you did too. Another show, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, just really good. And I recommended it then. I'll recommend it now, especially after seeing this. Too Big to Fail, the HBO film that came out. I believe it was 2010 or 2011.
That should be on HBO Go
It's
right
the
now,
other.
shouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. I believe. It's the other side of the coin. So this deals with. It's called The Big Short. That title's kind of hard to understand, so you're watching it, but it's like shorting against the big
Hmm.
industries. and it's about the little guys that are trying to make money off of the foreseeable foreclosure of all this homes and making the crisis and the bubble and whatnot. Too Big to Fail is what the banks were doing at the time of this crisis. So you got, Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and Bernie Mae and Freddie Mac. I think I said that wrong. They're gone now, so it doesn't matter. And Merrill Lynch and all of what's going on, and like Bank of America and the White House trying to combat that, and the Fed getting involved. Also, really hard to understand. But the two, like, they definitely complement each other really, really well. Help you understand the fuck up that has affected the entire world, not just the United States. So if you watch one, you definitely should check out the other. There's not really a segue here.
I gave you one for Spotlight if you wanted to do that, but
We could, but
I know the
no.
order that you're going in, so yeah.
Yeah. So I saw the Danish Girl today. It wasn't bad. It was
I'm sure it's not.
it's a very solid movie. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily Oscar porn. It kind of is. Like, if that's how you felt about The Imitation Game, you'll definitely see it that way because it has. They're both really important stories, and I like the Danish game, or the
Yeah,
Imitation
no,
Game
that
for
was
the
one of the best movies
record.
that year. I mean, it
Yeah,
stood
it's really
above
good.
that for me because I think it was
It was just
far
done really
it was
well.
above its message too. Like, the message was
Uh-huh.
there, but that's something that it's
It,
not
it,
what it's
it was a
about.
it was about how the computer was made and how we stopped
Yeah,
the
like there was a
Nazis.
lot more going on, and then the message is just kind of like, basically, who gives a shit if he was gay? That was the entire point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Um,
beating you over the head with
I
it.
love how there's that really good reference to Turing and Steve Jobs where someone asks him, he's like, so yeah, because they show a picture of him in the Think Different press conference, and he's like, that Turing killed himself by eating an apple, and your logo is an apple with a bite out of it with a color rainbow on it. And he's like, oh yeah, I would never thought about that. That was a coincidence. So yeah, but I mean, the Danish Girl, similar in the idea that it has a message that's really important. It's about one of the first uh, transgendered women.
The first person
Uh,
that got the surgery, right?
yeah, exactly. So, and you learn at the end, there's some titles like it talks about how her diary is still read by the transgender community. It's really important to the movement, and so in terms of that, like, yeah, it's great. But we already had a really great trans movie this year, and it was Tangerine.
Hmm.
Very different. Can't compare them. Tangerine's about actual trans women in the world today and what they have to deal with to get by in life. And this is about an affluent painter and his wife. And it's hard to really talk about without giving away, but this is not some man who knows he's a woman and is trying to skate by in life. It's much deeper than that. It's really good. Eddie Redmayne, he might win the Oscar again. Really great performance. Alicia Vikander, also great. A lot of people on the internet were upset that she got nominated for this over Ex Machina for
Yeah, I
Best
saw
Actress.
that. I mean, I wouldn't
They're
know
wrong.
really.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
wrong. Her performance here is a lot deeper. There's a lot more going on. Plus, she does full frontal. So if you're into that,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, she
I
doesn't do
mean,
that in Ex Machina. So,
well, yeah, I mean, do you think I should see this movie in theaters while it's still out?
um,
I mean, just because my like,
it's on you. I mean,
I'm pretty sure
for
I'll
the
see
record,
it at some point.
Eddie Redmayne does full frontal too. So you get two for the price of one.
Yeah, well, who cares? I mean,
I'm just saying. It's not bad. I think you'll enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed it. I still have to push around my top 10 list. It might make it, probably won't.
really,
Just because, like,
I might have to do that then, just because of that.
transgender fiction, TV and film is a really big thing right now. So, not only do you have Tangerine, which is on Netflix, but then, you have Transparent on Amazon. And the first season of that says a lot of the stuff that this film does. It's just that this is done with a pretty bow. It's a really gorgeous film. It's a good period piece. All the players are great. It's just, I don't know. If you're already kind of versed in the movement and you have a firm understanding of what's going on and what it means to be transgender, then it's kind of missable.
I don't. I mean, the way that I'm kind of looking at this is that it seems to me exactly to be the kind of movie that I expect. That it just seems like
Yeah,
more of a story of
it's more than that.
self-discovery in that regard. Whereas I think
Sort of,
something
not really. It's more than that.
something for me, just like I don't know. This is also set in a time where they're breaking those barriers too.
Yeah, it's like 1920.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm just not interested in those stories. Like especially seeing Tangerine, it's something that in the world of
Very
that
different.
movie,
Yeah.
it's just it presents it as it is, and I'd rather see stories where it's just like, okay, this is a normalized thing in this world, and this is just what it looks like. I'd rather just see stuff like that, where as opposed to getting over the shock value of it, it's just like, okay, just this is these are who these people are. This is where they live. This is that scene, and just show it and tell a different story instead of. I'm just kind of getting tired of. I feel like I've seen enough stories of saying like, oh, it's okay to be that. It's like, well, I've gotten that
Yeah.
message drilled in my head like so many times now. Instead of showing me something of like, oh, they're people too. Well, fucking show me how they're people. Show me what they do. Like for fuck's sake. I mean,
I
that's where I'm
like I said, the
coming at it from.
portrayal, what Eddie Redmayne does with his characters, because this isn't like transparent in the way where you see a man transitioning when that's a term and how people are accepting it around him. This is about a man and his wife who are both painters trying to make it successfully, and him realizing through some pretty funny circumstances that he's actually a woman. And so what he does in those scenes and how he transitions through it, it's also transformative role in the same way that the theory of everything was. I think that this might have been harder to do just because you do feel like the two characters, even though it's him and he looks very similar, that they have, different desires and that they want different things. They definitely have different needs. But the journey that you're taking on is pretty good. It didn't
I think that's all I
hit.
could ask for. I'm sure I'll see
Yeah,
it at some point, honestly, but like there's so many variables that
because
sort of turn me
you have
off.
the movie pass
Yeah, like I could do that.
and
Yeah.
it's a solid movie. I think you should check it out because I don't think you'll dislike it. And then if he does win, like I said, it is a possibility. I think he has a better chance than Leo.
I think
Then
he
you
got
wouldn't
it.
be shocked, or you could be part of the
I
conversation.
don't know. Well, I mean, it's we'll see. I guess. I'm like I don't know. It's just Eh, yeah. I guess I'll
You've
try
seen
to.
the story so many times that
Well, no. I
you're
mean,
not sure
it's
you want
it's
to.
like I
Like I
said.
haven't.
It's just like it does seem like it's not just Oscar porn, but like it's that Brokeback movie. It's that movie about a transgender person for straight people. And it's like, well, okay, I get that. Okay, it's fine. I accept it. I think
Mhm.
that every time that I hear something, I'm almost willing to believe that, except for Middle America, that socially, just as a country, we're okay with this, because every time that I hear people talk about it, it's like, well, more people need to be okay with that. But every time, that's like every person I meet says that same exact thing. It's like, well, I mean, to
Well,
some extent,
there's
isn't everybody okay with it if they keep needing to say that?
sorta,
I
but I
mean, but
mean
I know
that's a
that in
lot
Middle
of
America,
bullshit.
there's
Like,
people that
how many,
obviously aren't.
even
That's
the people that say
that's just
that,
because of
how many
where.
of them have actually not just encountered, but had exchanges with transgendered people.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's very easy to say something. It's a lot different when you actually live with it.
no, and
And I'm
that's
not saying they're freaks or anything, because I've met several. Just it is, we need time to adjust, and that's why it's a good thing that we have so much media coming out right now. I mean, if you're listening out there and you like transgender stories, or you're following it, or whatever, definitely read Intersex. It's not, or not Intersex, Middlesex rather, not about transgender. It's about
Donnie Darko.
no, no, no. It's about being intersex, not
Uh,
transgender. There's a difference here. And when you're intersex, when you're born, you literally have both pieces of
yeah,
genitalia, and the doctor makes a choice.
or
And
the
this happens all the
parents.
time. I think it's like, or the parents. Yeah, it's like, I think it's like 5% of the population it falls into this category, and but it's like deeper than that. It's an Odyssey. It's written by, oh man, I'm just gonna grab the book so I don't butcher the name,
What, Homer?
by Jeffrey
Oh, okay,
Eugenides.
that was different Odyssey.
No, it's the guy that wrote the Virgin Suicides.
I got you.
and and so like that, it's a different story, but it has similar ideas going on to it. And as our country develops over the coming years, I'm sure there's going to be, trans people in
Yeah,
office and
it's
whatnot if
gonna
they're
be
not already.
like we're definitely, it's still very much like I don't want to say it's a niche, but it's sort of separated as being a community. So like
Mhm.
I think it's like you said, I guess, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That even though people say they're okay with it, that's one thing. I mean, I'm sure I'm okay with it, and I say that, but then again, it's not an everyday thing I see, and I'm sure right when it's
Yeah.
in front of my face, like I will just have that look of like, oh, okay, so that's what that is. But then again, people
Mhm.
can't help but react that way when they see something that's different. It's
You
not. I
noticed
mean,
something new today.
yeah,
Yeah.
that which I'm
Uh,
sure is going to be is frustrating for so many people out there already. But hey, that's just something,
just something.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know, any minority out there, you got to get used to getting those weird look. They're not always dismissive. That's what I'm. Yeah, if anyone's
Uh,
listening and they get weird looks, just know that it's not always dismissive. That's I don't well, I don't need
don't
to say this. Do
don't
I?
send hate mail to Steve.
Yeah,
You can
that's how
send
I
us hate
feel about it.
emails though if you
Don't.
disagree with us. The email is dollar.review@gmail.com.
I would love to get hate
Um,
mail. Yeah,
move to something that else got hated this year. Crimson Peak. Didn't
got
get
hated,
any Oscar nominations. Didn't make any money.
got
Uh,
snubbed. I
a
wouldn't
lot of
say
people were saying that
hated.
it wasn't scary. Well, not hated, but I think most people that saw this enjoyed it, but everyone else was talking like it was this horrible film. I can't say I loved it, but there was a lot that I really liked. A very like Del Toro, he said it this way. He said it's a gothic love
Hmm.
story that has ghosts in it, and that's 100% what it is. It has that old timey vibe, something like The Others or The Innocents. Like it has, or even more specific, Laura by Otto Preminger. Really powerful movie. It jumps ahead a little too much and it kind of skips certain scenes that might have been more powerful, like a wedding, maybe. Like it's kind of weird to have this romance and they don't get married. But yeah, it was really good, and the best part about this movie was the art direction and set design and the costumes were so good,
Well, I think
and
also
didn't
the
get
acting
nominated for
though,
those things.
their
Yeah,
performances
the
are
acting's
really
good too.
freaking good. Like I'm pretty sure. I think I said this like an idiot that I had no idea that was Jessica Chastain. And honestly, when I was watching it, I was convinced for a little bit that might have been Eva Green. I'm sure I've just destroyed my
Eh,
credibility there. Yeah, but
a
like,
little bit. Yeah.
fuck, she kills it though.
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
she's
like
so good. Like
so
between
good.
this and The Martian,
That's a different movie. She does what she's supposed to do, but yeah,
no, I'm
she
just
gets a
saying
lot
like
more to do here.
yeah, like her role in this. I can't remember the name of the character in Laura, but there's a very similar role. Like it's the headmistress, or not the headmistress, but like basically the yeah. Well, I guess that's the right word. Like it's be above a maid, but she basically runs the house.
It's
That
similar
this
to I wouldn't say not Laura, but also Rebecca.
Rebecca. That's the one I'm thinking of, not
Okay,
Laura.
yeah,
Yeah,
I have not
my
seen Laura,
mistake.
so
Yeah, just you got this headmistress who runs the house, and this new wife comes onto the property, and the way that she interacts with her, very very similar. I have seen Laura though. Which one's that?
yeah, I don't know. I need to see that
Is that
one.
the one with the painting?
I
Yeah, that's the painting movie.
maybe
My
I
mistake.
think I saw clips of it in film class, but I don't know honestly. Yeah, though I mean, really good. I really want to. I still want to see this again. I almost did when it was out theatrically, just because it's one of those things where I think now that I have a better expectation of what it is, if I might appreciate it more. But I really like what I got though. Just that like sort of old like period feel
Very old timey.
similar to I guess Bram Stoker's Dracula, how Coppola kind of brought back that feel.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Like it definitely feels like I said with the Innocents and Rebecca, not Laura. Like it has that 40s vibe to it. Like it does feel of that
it's
time.
actually late 1800s.
Well, I don't mean that when the story takes place. I'm
Okay.
saying like in terms of cinema, like the films that were popular during the 40s, like outside of noir, like it has that, influence by Gone with the Wind, like that grand romance, but it's very gothic, and it's not just because of the sets and the design and the way everything looks and all the reds and blacks.
Which not only that, I mean, this looks incredible, and I think the budget was either what 40 or 50 million.
I think it was a little bit more than that because I mean it's all
Honestly,
practical
I
ghosts,
know, but
so
like well, not all of it.
well they had touches, but
Yeah,
those were practical people
no, but I mean,
in
I think
outfits.
it was like around half of 100 million. I think it was around 50 last I checked anyway, and I just remember thinking, wow, for that budget, it's still pretty fucking incredible what they were able to make out of it.
I really like the house and how it's almost a character,
Hmm.
and the like when you're introduced to it and there's snow coming in through the roof. I think the weakest part of this movie is Charlie Hunnam. I don't like him. I think it's something about his voice. I didn't like him in Pacific Rim. I don't like him
Have
here.
you seen Undeclared?
Yeah, he's good in that. You
Yeah,
know
he's
why?
great in
Because
it.
he uses his real voice. Like I look at him and his voice doesn't match his body. Um, because like he has a good character here, but it's written very short. And he doesn't have a lot to do, even though he kind of saves the day. Like I said, it seemed like there's a cut of this film that's like 25 minutes longer that the studio wasn't happy with. Because, like I said, it's very bizarre that you have this movie about a romance and there is no wedding scene.
Hmm.
Like it's not necessary. But like I don't know, there's some really cool lines in this movie. I think my favorite one was like these people are making fun of Mia, and they say, "Oh look, if it isn't our own Jane Austen, you're gonna die a widow, or you're gonna what was it? You're gonna die a spinstress." And she says, "I would rather be Mary Shelley. She died a widow," and then she walks away. I don't know. I wouldn't buy it for a dollar, but it's a gorgeous movie. And it has a great vibe to it, very old timey. So if you like Rebecca and you want to see something similar, then you can't go wrong here. And I mean Guillermo del Toro, he didn't. It wasn't a miss. It was just they marketed it completely
Yeah,
wrong.
no, I agree. I mean, it's also there's so many ways I can describe it other than just being a visual feast. It's a really cool love letter to film. Especially when you bring
Hmm.
up that Rebecca comparison, and I'm sure there's other details in there that when I see it again, I'll probably find. But yeah, it's a really gorgeous movie, and it's a really fun watch.
Other fun watches. I saw The Intern, and it dawned on me after I watched it that like without even trying. And it's funny because there's that. Have you seen that 52 like 52 films by women's thing that's going on the internet?
No, I haven't.
No, it doesn't matter. I think it's like something
What
like
is that?
people on Letterboxd or whatever going to try to watch 52 films made by women this
What
year.
every week?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, like once a week. Anyway, so yeah, this is a Nancy Meyers movie, and I realized after I finished it that I've seen all of her movies. I love What Women Want. That's like I think it's a perfect movie. Even if you don't like Mel Gibson, I think that movie's great.
It could be a debt to cinema.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's great. It's so good. Like you know the premise, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay,
That would
so
be
how
so awesome to have in real life, don't you
I
think?
don't know about that. It'd probably be really
I think it
like
would also be pretty
really
messed
scary.
up and pretty unfair, but at the same time, God, that'd
I
be
think you'd
quite a
go
relief to just have that.
no. I think you'd go
In some
insane.
ways,
Your
it would
like
be a
head would
relief if you could
explode.
turn it on and off, like just to get some sort of
I mean, that's what's
reaffirmation.
scary though. That's why like he doesn't like it because he
It
can't
would
turn it
drive you
on.
nuts, yeah.
Yeah, like every single person. Like I think if that movie's due
For a
for a
little bit, for my
remake
own
in the near
self-esteem, I think that would
future
help.
or a TV show. I think it'd be a really good TV show, like something like Netflix like picked it up. I think it would be really great, especially if they flip the tables, like if it was What Men Want, except like we're painted as dogs. I don't know, but yeah, this movie was exactly what I thought it was. Feel good movie about the old timer Robert De Niro coming to work as an intern at a tech startup. Great performances all around. Obviously, De Niro and Anne Hathaway, they have really really good chemistry. Rene Russo's in this out of nowhere. What's probably even more interesting is Anders Holm and Adam Devine are in this from
Workaholics.
yeah, Workaholics. And Anders Holm is like really good in a non-comedic role. Adam Devine or Devine, it's Devine. He does what he always does. Like you've seen Pitch Perfect or its sequel or Workaholics. He is
Yeah.
playing himself. I would assume that's how he is in real life. But yeah, Anders Holm is like really, really good in a pretty shitty role. Like I said, this is exactly what you think it is, or at least it was what I thought it was going to be. So if you've seen the trailer and you kind of smirked or you want a fun movie, this is definitely that. Robert De Niro just steals the show. Like in a different world, he could have got nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Musical Comedy instead of Matt Damon. Um,
Really?
yeah, he was actually like really really good. This is like some of the best work he's done in his resurgence over the last couple of years. I don't know. I liked it. There's a couple things wrong with it, but there's like a really fun heist that happens in the middle. There's some fun commentary. Like they're talking about why don't men carry handkerchiefs and made me blush because I carry one. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it for you. I don't think it's your kind of movie. It was hardly mine. but it was a great watch. Like there was nothing bad about it.
It's just
It's
it's nice, like, simple light
exactly,
entertainment
yeah,
when you're in the
yeah.
mood for it.
It's one of those movies that kind of what you can call it, like it reaffirms that life is worth living even when bad things are
So
happening. It's
life
one of
affirming
those,
movie.
it's yeah, it's a life affirming workplace comedy. There's like very little romance going on here, even though like there is like a relationship at the core. Like Anna's home and Anne Hathaway's relationship is kind of pivotal to the plot, but there's more going on about that. And it's just it's about you're retired and not letting that stop you. Like even if you're a widow, like you just continue living your life and you look for the good things out there.
So basically, a
Um,
better role model than About Schmidt.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, he's not. He doesn't turn into an
Yeah.
asshole. Robert De Niro is a good guy in this movie, like the best character in the movie. Like if you got a spin-off, like somehow like they made a movie just about him, that'd be fun because it kind of is, but not really.
It's funny. Do you think that that's
Um,
partly the difference between having a male director and a female director making a movie about a guy that's retired?
between those
Do you
two
think
examples,
that could be partly that? Just
maybe
saying.
I don't know. Like I said, this movie isn't that. It's more about like you have this sage advisor who's helping a company out and comes and saves the day. Basically, it's the supernatural aid from the hero journey story, except throughout the whole movie, it's kind of from his perspective. Like imagine Star Wars if it was told from the perspective of Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's kind of what this movie is.
Hmm.
Not in terms of the space opera and the
Yeah, no,
kissing
no,
your,
I
your
got you
sister and
though.
stuff.
Like,
But yeah, it's like this is the guy that saves the day, except for he's gonna be the one that pushes it along. And he's like I said, he plays a really great character that you can't help but like fall in love with.
and when you strike him down, he shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Unless you're Bill Cosby. Yeah, so jump into
Oh,
Spotlight.
oh, dude.
Everyone knows what this movie is. You kind of have to. It's about
I
people,
can't get over
not
that.
just in
Oh my
religion
god.
specifically. That's a good segue, isn't it?
That
Did,
wow, I did not expect that.
did it knock you out? Neither did the women. So yeah,
Ooh, god
Spotlight.
damn.
It's about priests taking advantage and molesting
Uh-huh.
not just boys but also girls in their churches in the Boston
Just
area.
kids.
Well, not just kids. I mean, like some of them are like up to like 13.
Mainly, yeah, well, kids, dude. I mean, that's
Sure.
when they're at their most vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone knows this story, and I don't really know the Benghazi story, but like everyone knows this one. Because everyone makes jokes about priests taking advantage of kids. Like everyone has at least one of them. But what Tom McCarthy does here is just really, really good for directing for a not that interesting movie. It's just
I
about how they
disagree, really. I mean, the
like. I like
subject
no,
matter,
I'm
like, you can't help
like
but
the
react to
subject
it, yeah.
matter is interesting, but in a conventional sense, like what's going on here, the story on hand is good. It's interesting, but it's hard to make this kind of movie about it's about reporters
Hmm.
working at a newspaper. It's hard to make that work well, and that's why there aren't many newspaper movies or just movies about the news in general. Like, yeah, we had Nightcrawler last year, or yeah, like All the President's Men, but even All the President's Men, like it's kind of boring movie. Like it has a very slow pace, and this one isn't. Like it's
I think
almost breakneck.
I
Like
don't see the
it doesn't stop
Nightcrawler.
moving.
I don't see the Nightcrawler comparison. That's very different, but
No, I'm just saying like that's about making the news. I mean, it's from a very
yeah.
different standpoint. But I was saying like we still do get news movies. Like this isn't network,
Oh,
like
this is
this
investigative
is
journalism.
an
That's
extra story.
yeah. That's why
Yeah,
it's closer to All the President's Men.
I guess you could do something like Aaron Brockovich too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've seen this.
Hmm.
I don't have to talk about this on my own. What he does here, like the pace that it moves at, like it's breakneck. Like there's no time to breathe really, unless it's a scene that goes on for a while. But you're constantly going from one thing to the other and learning about things that happen, which is crazy because this is an original screenplay. Like it's based on something, but you know, they wrote everything on their own. There wasn't some kind of biography or whatnot of the team that someone compiled. This
Hmm.
isn't a memoir.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm being down on it. I mean, but this is basically the feature film version of a Law and Order episode, or something around that ilk. That's why I don't feel that.
Not Law and Order, but yeah, I can understand
Yeah, but I
that.
mean, it's just that type of style. Like, I don't feel
Like
that.
60 minutes
I
almost.
don't feel that impressed by it. I'm not gonna say that Tom McCarthy doesn't deserve any attention for doing what he does here because hey, when you make a movie, he knows exactly what type of movie he's making. Anyone that makes a movie, you got to make decisions on how to tell the story, and the story is it's told exactly how it was intended. I'm just not impressed by this as a film as far as aesthetically how it's designed and how it's put together. I really think it's just a movie that is dependent on its subject matter. That's how it gets me to react, and I can appreciate creatively just the decisions that are being made, but they feel similar to things I've seen before. I mean, I'm interested in this as a piece of investigative journalism but it's not a movie that it's a movie that more stays with me because of its subject. There's no characters that I remember. Not, everyone does a fine job, but I don't remember any character's name or really anything about them. It's just they're good reporters and they're doing what's right, and they have good morals, and that is what sticks with it. I mean, it's really just the facts around this that I remember. It's kind of, I guess it's funny because you mentioned Benghazi, but like it's sort of, I guess, similar in that ilk of okay, you make something based on a true subject and you're true to the facts as good as you can be, but in the end there isn't that much staying power with me, especially, I mean, this is a much more tougher subject though, other than just war, because it's something that'll psychologically damage people for life, which is it's very, very different. Although I don't know, PTSD maybe, well, whatever. I shouldn't have brought up the Benghazi comparison, but yeah, I think it's a very good movie, and I think people should see it. But it's not, when it comes, I guess, to Oscar caliber movies or things that impress me that I consider great filmmaking. I think this is good filmmaking, but I don't think there's much to distinguish it from what's been done before, and I think it adopts a very specific aesthetic that's been mastered, and it uses that as the way of telling a story. That so I don't think there's really much else to it to praise it there on a technical level. But yeah, they do make a good film. It's not like I'm knocking on it. It's just it doesn't impress me.
Didn't impress you. Yeah,
they did the job that they were trying to do, and they
did exactly as good as they could have.
No, well, they did exactly what they wanted to do, and it worked. Yeah. I absolutely, I will applaud it for there. I guess I won't go to how high this is being held up.
Well, like I said, it didn't impress me. Just it's a flawless movie. Like the cast is great. It's a really great ensemble.
I mean, just some of the not necessarily interviews too, like, are really, really pretty shocking.
Really powerful. Just everyone's good here. It's not necessarily a period piece, even though it's more than 10 years old. And you already told me in the other episode that there's like something that happens because of 9/11, and that kind of fucked with me. It really threw the pace off in those final 30 minutes. I don't
know why people say that. Like, I think that's probably
it's something that actually happened. I know this.
I feel that makes it more...
at the end of the story, and you have to wait like 25 minutes for closure.
I feel that makes it way more interesting when that happened, because it was like, oh god, you can't put that out now. Like, you just can't. And then all this, like, just the difficulties of waiting around that. I thought that made it immediately more interesting. It's just like that's just this. I mean, yeah, it's history, but
part of the movie.
I don't. It really.
Even though it actually happened.
I don't think it dragged it. I think it just made it way, like, the seriousness of these events, and that really had me thinking while that was happening. So no, it didn't bother me whatsoever. I thought just the ethical reasons for publishing the story at that time, just it made it far more interesting at that moment to me.
I can buy that. Just, I don't know.
Like, yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it's not like, I guess you could say 9/11 story wise. It's like that's a cop out or a distraction, but I mean, no, because it's history, and like the moment that happens, it's like, fuck, just that. How else am I supposed to react
definitely
to that?
Just. And I'm sure that's what happened. Because I mean, in actuality,
yeah, you're watching it and you're just waiting for them to put it out, and then that happens. It's like, god damn it, just fucking hell.
You got it right. You said this. There's already the aesthetic out there, and they know exactly what they want to do, and they did it.
Yeah.
And they continue to do that at the end, where they have the white text on screen before the credits.
Oh god, all the
you've seen
places at the end.
Yeah, wow. You've seen this so many times. But that doesn't stop it. It doesn't keep it from being a great movie.
It is something that'll like stick with you that you will remember. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
and it's
I
supposed to
mean,
do this one thing, and it does it. So that's to the movie's credit. It succeeds at doing what it's trying to do.
yeah, this isn't a character piece. It's not. You're not gonna learn a moral. You're not trying to change your worldview. It's just reporting about reporting, and it does that perfectly fine. There's not a good segue for this one either. Really weird movie. The Lobster. You might have heard of it.
No,
It,
I,
it,
I don't
it
know what this
you
is.
know. So yeah, it was running for the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It got something. I think it got the jury prize. Really interesting, really weird movie. I really liked like a lot the first half. It's a very bizarre twist on the conventional love story, or not just the love story itself, but like heteronormative society and our expectations about living together. Because like this isn't a spoiler. This is something you have to know to try to sell you on it. In this world, in the near future, wherever it takes place, I'm guessing it's the UK, because you got Colin
Hmm.
Farrell and what's her name, Rachel Vice, and
They got
the
Irish accents or British accents.
British accents. But then you also have the Bond girl from Blues Orange Color.
Hmm.
I anyway, you so in this world, if you become single because your relationship doesn't work, you have 45 days to find a match, and then if you can't do it, you are turned into an animal of your choosing. Uh, so just that alone, very strange concept. And
Why?
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it is an artsy film,
I'm
but then even beyond that, the tone it has and the humor like it does is so different and irreverent that this is not for everyone. It wasn't necessarily for me. Like I said, very strange movie. But what it does really well. What it doesn't do well is not good. It kind of reminded me of Slow West in the fact that, like it has like a kind of typical story, except it changes it up so much that it tries to be something new.
It's kind of
And
quirky along the
yeah,
way.
it's quirky and it succeeds at certain things, but it fails at others. Definitely interesting. Like just that concept. Like I sold you on the movie. Like you're interested enough that you want to see it, right?
I'm
Like
I want to know what this is. I'm not. I don't know.
yeah, like I could
Is
go
this something
further.
you think I have to see?
No, no, definitely not. Um, like what's his name? Shit, John C. Riley's in this for no reason
Huh.
with a lisp. Like it's a really like it doesn't set up this world enough, but that's okay because obviously it was trying to get the Palme d'Or. Like it is an art film, not an art snob film, not an art house cinema. But yeah, this is definitely something that would play at an art house
Is
theater.
this like?
Yeah.
Does this sound more like a hipster kind of thing?
Not really.
Okay.
I kind of from the first half anyway. I got a Woody Allen vibe. Like it could have been like a concept that he would have played with, and
It sounds
just
all
also
over the
just like
place right now, the way you're describing
it
it. That's the
is. Like
last name I
it's hard.
expected you to mention.
It's hard to like the first half, like this concept and living in this hotel where they all are and trying to find romance. It's not necessarily just romance, but it's like, well, society tells you that you have to find a mate, and also if you don't do it well, we're gonna turn you into an animal. And like if
And
that
then what
wasn't weird
happens
enough,
there? Like,
exactly right. If that wasn't weird enough, there's a whole second half which is about living with like in the woods. Like the tone is very bizarre. I almost fell asleep on it. I don't recommend it, but it was, it's one of those movies that it definitely is going to have a cult following. Enough people already love it as it is on the internet that if you are into these kind of weird movies, then you're probably going to be right at home. It's going to be perfect for you. But it sadly wasn't for me. And it sucks too because, Colin Farrell's really good in this.
mm,
Makes me happy because like I think I'm one of the few people that loved him in True Detective this season. So hopefully he gets another big acting gig where he can actually act in for once. It's not Phone Booth, even though I love Phone Booth. That's a really good movie. So yeah, like I said, I can't really recommend it, but it is interesting. It's not boring. Let's talk about The Gift, the
Katie
second
Holmes, man.
Gift, not a Get
Oh,
One.
oh, that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, yeah,
yeah.
that one. The Blumhouse. Joel Edgerton
The one
feature.
that everybody loved.
This thing has a crazy review rating on Letterboxd. I believe it's like a 4.5 or like a 4, and Rotten Tomatoes is off the
Oh
charts.
yeah, no, it's
Metacritic.
it's gotten a lot
Uh,
of
I
praise. I
don't get
mean,
it. I'm with
yeah,
you.
it's
Is there supposed to be a twist here? Because
okay. Well,
sure, there's a thing that there's a deeper thing that it's kind of shocking, but what? Like, is this like? I enjoyed this movie more until the end. Like, I thought the end kind of made it
actually,
worse.
I thought that was when it woke me up, and I thought it was getting to like old boy territory, and then it ends on an ambiguous note, which I don't know. I can't remember if I felt cheated at the end or whatnot. I mean,
I
I think that's
I definitely
fine,
felt cheated, but
but I don't know. I felt like it didn't necessarily matter at the same time. But I don't know. It's kind of like okay, well, you got a message on bullying, and I guess you communicated that message well. It's just the plot that you decided to do it with.
there's
I don't know.
there's much
Yeah.
better anti-bully movies out there. And I don't think that was their main thing here. I think that was just something that tacked on to try to help out the revenge scheme that was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I will say this though to its credit. I mean, performance-wise, how
Oh yeah,
I
great,
think with
great
Jason
performance.
Bateman, how you know, in
How he
retrospect,
how he flips the switch, how he does the two different,
yeah,
yeah.
how you're kind of going from sympathizing with him to just kind of hating him and going back and forth. Like, yeah, I mean, those are this was a pretty standard, typical thriller, but it does do things I think better than conventional thrillers, or at least that you wouldn't expect coming out of them. So I mean,
And
there is that.
maybe
That's
that's because it's might be because it's Blumhouse. It was surprising. Like this could have been with anyone. Like
well, I
it
think that's
doesn't.
also if you get a good actor to direct, like you know Joel Egerton, when you have actors, directors, or actors that are
Uh-huh.
turning to directors, they will put an emphasis on performance and character, and I think that is a touch that comes from that. You know, it's not. Although I don't know, I don't think it's kind of a whatever plot, but I think there's like some good spots in there. It's just that, you know it's kind of okay in the end.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't understand. Maybe this is one of those things where like no one knew what to expect going in, and they thought it was gonna be shit, and then it
Oh wait,
surprised
this is
them,
the
and so
movie
they
where
were
what's her face, where she was just being fucking whiny and mopey the whole time, wasn't it?
yeah the whole
Oh,
time.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So like I said, maybe people were going into this like, oh, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be another one of those really cheapo Blumhouse flicks, and then they came out going, oh wow, that was actually pretty good. And so then I can understand the kind of praise it got because of that, but
Blumhouse typically gets it gets praise. I mean,
yeah,
I like the
pretty good.
stuff
Yeah.
that's put out by Jason
But
Blum.
I went into this knowing that everyone loves it, and I wasn't impressed. And maybe that's, the difference there just in that. But I don't know. It almost felt like a waste of my time. There's nothing great here. It's not anything that you haven't seen
It doesn't really
before.
make a burning impression on you. Like
No, it's not scary. They're like not even jump scares for that matter. Um,
actually, there were a couple good ones. I think.
I think there was one towards the end.
I
Yeah,
don't.
there was
I
one
remember
with like
one in the theater getting everybody, but I can't remember what it was. So I mean,
I
it's
just
funny talking about it now, like just from a character standpoint. Yeah, I guess it's. I'm looking at it right now too. I gave it 2.5, and I guess I see why. Because
it's an interesting like person
like
play.
yeah, I
Like
don't
it
think
does
it's
that
mediocre
really
at
well.
all. I think
Just
there's a few things that elevate it above being a standard thriller, but it's just like it's I don't know. It's skating that line in between. Like I want to give it more credit because it's the things that it does pretty well. You know, they should be in a movie that's not trying to be so stale and typical. You know.
check out Creep instead. Like it's not a thriller.
I know. Yeah, you told
It's
me. Yeah.
closer to the horror genre. But that like I still think about that movie. Like I've thought about putting it on my best of the year list. That definitely. I mean, I didn't see a lot of them, but definitely the best found footage movie I saw this year, or one of the best ones I've ever seen. Well, not VHS, not anthology, but like that. Like I still think about those characters, and I think about Jay Duplass or not J Mark, and Jason Blum like making a continuation. Hopefully that they do that trilogy that they were talking about a couple months ago. But yeah, there's nothing for me here. This is a one-off movie, not bad, kind of good, standard. Just you're late at home. Like it would probably make for a good date movie, and it would Like, if you're watching this with a significant other, it'd probably make for some interesting conversation.
I don't know.
Maybe you
It's
give each other a weird look because you don't know how much you know one another in actuality.
I would say it's more just like if she was into trashy soap operas or dramas or Lifetime movies and some shit, and then she was like, "Oh, this is on."
Well,
I'd
this
be like,
is
"Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
higher
go
than
ahead." If
that.
that's the kind of girl that you're dating, then it's like, "Yeah,
I
okay,
think
okay,
this
I'll
is
sit
much
down."
higher on the totem pole than a Lifetime movie.
I think there's
But it
elements of
definitely
it, but it's
has,
definitely among being a Lifetime movie. I think
yeah, like it has a story that could be on there. It's done a lot better. Like Joel
yeah,
Edgerton,
kind of.
given that he wrote, directed, and basically stars in this, for a first time director, like really great job. And like maybe that's why people really liked it.
I mean, it's a respectable actor
Because
that's doing a solid job. There's nothing
well,
outright
I still think he's
horrible.
kind of underrated. I mean, his name doesn't get brought up yet. I totally forgot that he was in episode 2 and 3 of Star Wars when I was watching those a couple, like, was that a month ago now?
Hmm.
I had no
Well, yeah, he
recollection that
wasn't
he
big
played
then at
Uncle
all.
Lars.
I mean, and
Well,
I
even
think he's
still,
only
like,
got like two lines. I think he just says, I'm
yeah, he
Owen."
has like two
Yeah,
lines.
I
Yeah,
think that's it. And it's only in one of the movies. The other one, he's just completely silent,
yeah.
but he stands there for a beautiful closing shot.
Check it out if you like him, because you're not gonna be turned down. And this is probably, I would say, yeah, this is probably Jason Bateman's best role. He's not playing the funny wise guy. Like he has a grounded role that he does really well in a genre that, as far as I can remember, he's never done before. And usually when someone goes to the horror or thriller side of things, unless they're already a great actor, yeah, like you don't know what to expect. So I thought that he gave a real admirable role, and I think the movie's solid. Just it wasn't my thing.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
So last movie of the week, you did a rewatch.
Oh, this is on me now. Okay, you're done. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I
all
guess
10 of my
I
notes.
guess I can talk about this. I did rewatch The Walk, and I was able to stream it on Vudu in 3D because I have a 3D TV. What's cool for me about this one time that I did this is because I watched it with my family, and it was pretty
Let me
cool.
guess, there was a French dub track.
No, 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 because I'm watching it on
Oh,
Vudu.
they don't do
They
that.
don't, you can't.
Well, I mean, the movie's already partially in French
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
no,
so
it's I don't see it would be weird, I think, watching a dub track because usually when they have there's scenes where they say no, 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 English, English, like I don't know, it's weird how they try to translate that stuff. Like I saw Close Encounters one time in French, and when they got Francois Truffaut and they're speaking in French and they got an interpreter in between, then they changed the dialogue in French
yeah,
to
it
make it
must be
sound more
weird.
like a back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
forth interrogation, like. And it's weird because it kind of works if you don't know what's really supposed to be said. I didn't see The Walk that way. Period. I don't think I'm going to, and I can't if I'm streaming. That option is not really available on U.S. streaming platforms. But anyway, I watched the movie, and I had actually a better time, honestly, watching it, and especially in 3D too. I don't.
Because I wasn't sitting next to you. That's fucked
No,
up.
that's not you, but maybe it's just because I know that the 3D on my TV looks amazing because it's on the specifications that I want it set on.
Even though the laser projector at the TCL Chinese Theater is pretty
It is
nice.
pretty nice too. Although, and I think maybe it's just because my expectations were lower. Like I don't know about you, but I find that when I'm watching TV, like if I build it up in my mind and anticipate it, like, and I look for it like really hard, it just won't have that effect. Like it just kind of burns out a bit. But then if I'm just not expecting anything, I'm more easily wowed. Like, and I know that's my mindset, especially because I've done that with 3D Blu-rays on my TV, where I'm just kind of like looking for like, oh, well, it's not as great as I remember. And then one time I just sit down, I watch it again, and then it just like hits me of like, oh no, this is just as great. I just was thinking way, way, way too hard
Yeah.
when watching it instead of enjoying the
Like,
fucking
I
movie.
think unless it's a visual masterpiece, like something like The Revenant or Birdman or any Lubezki movie for that matter, or like Sicario even, if you don't see it in the theater, yeah, I agree. Like, if you're watching something on TV, if you're unimpressed, then you don't really give a shit because you're at home anyway, so it's not like you spend any money. And yet, if something does impress you, like it surpasses your expectations, like you're just that much more enamored by it. Whereas in a theater, unless it's really good, you don't give a shit.
Well, I gotta say
It's
though,
like, yeah, it was okay.
but the last 30 minutes of this movie, which I watched those twice before my rental period ended, on my TV, I will say
I'm gonna
this.
do it. He's doing it
Like
again.
I
He's
was
doing
I
it
was
again.
far more wowed by it. Like, oh my god. And I got to thinking, maybe it's because it's a smaller screen, and the the resolution is a little bit lower, and that rope is blurred. But those wide shots where he's walking on the rope, like on my TV, maybe it's just because it's smaller, but you can see the line,
See
but you
people in the
can't
crowd.
exactly see it. So it looks like he's fucking floating for most of it, and the depth is just so vast. I don't know, like I was just watching in the dark at home too, and I was like, my jaw dropped a couple times, and like especially when he's like getting down on his knees as he puts the pole in the ground, like it was just amazing. And fucking watching my mom just like this, I don't know about you, but I don't watch movies with my mom in the room unless it's something I've seen before, because I know she's going to talk through it the entire time. So if I'm
And
going to watch
ask
something with my
questions.
family, I make that conscious pick of what do I want to hear my mom's running commentary on. And then I saw that on there, and I was like, oh, okay, there's this. And I picked it on 3D on purpose. And she was like freaking out, taking the glasses on and off because it was really, and she just kept saying like, God, this guy's fucking crazy. Like, what's wrong with him? Um,
I don't even remember being that scared. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
It
think
hit me a lot harder. I mean, honestly, and it's not. I find it even more incredible. This is something that I know. I remember the details, but in the moment, I'm reminded of them. That he didn't just walk
yeah, I
across.
did
He
it a
spent an
couple of
hour on
times.
there, just like
And
doing
he's
tricks
laying
back and forth, just like
down and
fucking
having
with the cops.
fun.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like waving and saluting. He's literally just like laying down and resting. Yeah,
standing on one
yeah, and it's
leg.
just like, oh my god, like yeah, I mean that final 30 minutes, honestly, like it is incredible filmmaking. Like I was just, I think it's beautiful. I mean, especially we talked about this after the fact of that ending shot, but I think for the
The two
tribute
towers
that
standing there.
Furious 7 has for Paul Walker, like this is just as beautiful, and it's for two inanimate objects. Like it's such a beautiful closing shot, just the way that it's done and the
Well,
way that
yeah,
it
because I
treats the
mean,
towers themselves and giving them a soul. I thought it was.
the whole movie is about, if you look at it that way, like the entire movie is a memorial
Hmm.
for those
Yeah.
buildings, the World Trade Center. And that's not what Man on Wire is. It's like an exploration of this crazy French guy's trapeze act. And it's kind of, a footnote is like, oh yeah, this was the two towers, and those twin towers aren't there anymore, and
Well, this is
that kind of
also
sucks.
it is a bit more on that too. Like, although you're not Man on Wire, you're getting the testimony specifically for the guy. This it's more from his perspective about the passion that's going into it and
I
how.
have to ask, was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's contact lenses, wig, and accent easier to get through at home?
It never it honestly didn't bother me. Like it was
I
something.
will make a wire between the World Trade
I
Center.
think it's something that definitely when I heard it, I was just kind of like, but I adjusted to it, and part of that is because I think his performance is great. Honestly, like yes, you can make that nitpick and go like, okay, that accent, it's kind of ridiculous, but as it keeps going, it really he nails the mannerisms of the guy.
Oh, yeah, he
I
gets
think
the
he gets
essence.
especially the essence, yeah, just the passion, the energy,
Hmm.
just like just a little. I mean, the level of, I guess, the craziness, the lunacy, a little bit, like really, really gets a feel for him. Like, I mean, honestly, like when you're watching it, you forget that this is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So yeah, it is a great role in that aspect. He definitely has those mannerisms, and I mean, I really, God, it's a really good movie too. Like, I mean,
Better than
I
flight.
like that. Just honestly, I don't know if I talked about this enough, but man, Zemeckis is back. Like, fuck, this guy is just such a great filmmaker, dude. Like, just it just feels like it's so effortless. Like, the way that he just puts scenes together. It just it. I never feel like I can study them. It just feels like it's simple. Like that's what they are. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
it's like it just
yeah, the way
happened,
that he
and I
blocks
filmed
them.
it.
Like,
Like, look at
even if you
Forrest
don't,
Gump, like the fountain sequence at the
yeah.
National Mall.
I mean,
The fact that they were doing CGI crowd duplication in 1993 or 94, I guess, like that's insane.
yeah.
And it doesn't even look bad by today's standards. Like it's still good. Like that whole movie is like
No,
that.
like he's
Like
great
them
with
doing the John Lennon TV interviews and stuff.
like
Like it's 20 years old.
he's a guy
Look at
that
Roger
yeah, no,
Rabbit.
he's a guy that uses digital effects perfectly to keep you into the story, except I maybe the mocap stuff not so much. That's being exploited though for a very
Yeah.
specific reason, but yeah, he's very good at using digital effects like not sparingly but subtly. Like one of the things I love that he does is when he transitions from one scene to another or one location from another, just in a single digital take, focusing on an object and then just kind of moving into like
Yeah,
some
like
other
I
space with the
think
similar
it
object.
was they do it in the like with newspapers in the
Yeah,
walk a lot.
no,
I
I mean
remember.
that is
Like
so
it
cool.
does a close up of the photo, and then you're in that moment with like a helicopter shot.
Like just such a great visceral sense, man. Like I love seeing this guy make movies.
I mean, sad that this movie was hyped
Oh
by
god, yeah,
Sony to
it
be
tanked so
the
bad.
event film of going to see IMAX 3, not just 3D, but IMAX 3D. And yeah, it did nothing. It's gotten no awards. It's gotten almost no praise. And it's a really good movie. And I mean, if you want to hear a more in-depth conversation, we do have a review some odd months ago. We saw it before its wide release, but yeah, just no one cared
I
about
know.
it.
I mean, it's
Maybe it's because there were so many big names, so many big movies this year that it kind of got swept under the rug. But then
also
again,
this is
I
the
mean,
first Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie that he's headlining. I think Looper. You could argue
uh,
that Bruce Willis had a bit more of
50
a
Shades,
pull.
I mean, 500 Days,
He
Brick.
was no, well, 500 Days was that was the beginning, I think, and that was that was a
What
sorry, I
about Brick?
burped there a little bit. That was a limited release movie when that came out. It slowly expanded. And that was one of the things that I think got him more attention. That's certainly what I
It was his
yeah,
big.
that was
I
certainly
mean, he
what
was
put
already
him on
pretty
my
big
radar.
because he
So
was a child actor in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Angels in the Outfield.
Well, a little bit less than that. I mean, compared to the other
Yeah, no,
Disney movie I just mentioned.
no, he
Yeah.
was there, but like he wasn't. It wasn't until like 500 Days of Summer where I knew, oh, this person has a
They
name.
blew up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He's still headline. Well, not like this, but 50-50, and there's like one or two other
Oh
things out
yeah.
there. But yeah, this was his first big one, and now he has that Snowden movie coming out whenever that
Yeah, we'll
happens, and
see.
he's working on Sandman at New Line on their Vertigo arm. Obviously, he has that hit record show and also TV network. So he has a lot of things going on. I'm sure he's gonna find that right vehicle because he has a lot of good indie stuff from before
Absolutely.
he got
Yeah.
huge.
No, I mean, well,
Oh wait, you're
everything.
wrong. Premium Rush.
God, fuck that
Oh my
movie,
gosh, yeah,
dude.
that movie's really bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
I mean,
remembered
I
that.
don't think it did that well either.
No, it did horribly. It was a
Yeah,
really bad
so yeah,
movie.
again, not exactly. He doesn't have that much star power yet. I mean, people recognize him and they like him. Looper did
I,
well,
I
but I
think
think
no, I
Bruce
think
Willis
he
might have
has
had a bigger pull.
I think he has a lot of star power. It's just he doesn't have many great films, not big films for that matter, behind like on his resume. Because he does have a lot of good indie things like Mysterious Skin and
Oh
Brick
shit,
and
I'm totally wrong because I forgot Don John. He directed that, but I mean, he
yeah, but
headlined that
like
and that
that
did
is
well.
also it is it's a smaller film. Like it's
Yeah, but
on
it got a
Netflix
wide
still.
release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's that's a Sundance flick that has a small budget, and even with the wide release, I don't know if that many people saw it, and it's not that good of a movie to begin with.
No, it's not bad. It did
Um,
pretty well. When I saw it, it was packed. So
that's
yeah.
good.
But okay. Anyway, The Walk. Still really enjoyed it. Maybe a little bit more so. It's not gonna crack my top 10, but I really think that was one of the better movies of last year. And
It was a fun
if you
movie. I
can,
mean, just that
if you can stream
the
it in
heist itself.
3D, yeah, like because I think that is the easiest way to rent it in 3D is through Vudu. I don't, not many places do 3D Blu-ray rentals. But yeah, I seriously recommend seeing it. That oh my god, I'm not kidding, dude. Literally, it was like I was so impressed by that fact of like just looking at it, it's like fuck, he's floating and the depth just goes
Plus,
so far
you can
down.
freeze frame it and just look at
I
it.
didn't. I had the remote nowhere near me, man. I was just. I don't do that. I don't freeze frame images. I
I've done that in Google Cardboard.
mm.
Like if I'm, enjoying. I haven't used that thing in weeks, by the way. But if I'm enjoying an experience, I'll pause the thing just to look at my surroundings. Be like, oh yeah, this looks really fucking cool.
He holds on the shots
Um,
long enough for you to take them in that you don't need to do that. But I mean, it's fuck. Is it? It's insane that last half hour is just incredible.
well, that's our show. You can find us on the internet. We're trying to do Twitter in a big way now, or at least I am. It's at Dollar Reviews. Follow us. We'll follow you back. We can send each other some personal inside jokes. It's the easiest way to give us feedback. We'd really appreciate it. We're thinking about getting a domain name,
Mm-hmm.
so big things on the horizon. You can also find us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews as well. As I said earlier in the show, you can send us an email, dollar.review@gmail.com.
And
Find
where can they find you personally?
I was gonna get
All
there.
right,
Yeah,
I
you can
wasn't
find
sure
me
yet.
on on Twitter at Bryon Gillis. That's Bryongillis. Same name on Letterbox, where you can see reviews with stars for every show, or not show, but movie I've named on this show, and every other movie I watch for that matter. I think I've seen about 20 this year alone already. How about you,
Oh, you
Steve?
can find me on Letterboxd at s_mtx, which I might do 1 or 2 movies a week now. I don't know. I'm very busy lately. If you haven't heard, all I saw was
Woo!
13 Hours in the Walk, and everything else was all Bryon. But you can also follow me on Twitter, where I'm trying to be more active now. In fact, I just asked Criterion if they had any plans to ever do a Blu-ray of Armageddon, and so far they're ignoring me. I don't know, but you know what? I was joking about this. I think I might seriously just ask them now every time, because what they did was they have the April slot announced, and that was my response to that. I think I might just hammer them every month now, every time they put a new slot out, and just ask them.
You know what
Do
you
the
could really
Shawshank
do?
version and wait for them to say, now please stop sending us tweets. Here you go.
You could do a petition. I'm sure there's enough Michael Bay fans out there that have like the Laserdisc VHS and DVD
Yeah, it's
copies of
like,
The Rock and they want it on
yeah,
Blu-ray.
I know that Armageddon is on Blu-ray, and I've rented it and it looks good, but it's not the director's cut that's on Criterion. It's not the one with that slightly like extra 3 minutes that just gives me a bit more of a punch. It's not the cut with Bruce Willis's dad in that movie,
Well,
and
maybe
that's the
they're
one I
waiting.
prefer.
Maybe it's going to be Criterion's
Plus, it doesn't
first
have any of
4K
the
Blu-ray.
bonus features in there. I'm sure that Criterion would do a
Don't
better
wanna
transfer. Yeah.
close your eyes. I
Don't
don't
wanna,
wanna ever blink,
'cause I
'cause
miss you, babe, and I
and I
don't wanna
don't
miss
wanna
a
miss a
thing.
thing. We're gonna be recording our top 10 list tomorrow, so
Yeah.
those gonna be up Sunday. In addition to that, you can also listen to our news show, 2 Cents, Monday morning, and we'll have our Get to Cinema for Field of Dreams for you on Wednesday. Thanks for listening,
Sweet.
guys.